me grab him.
Was he standing or laying?
He was standing.
Okay. Get you. All right, let's give him his meds.
So this bird has got issues that we don't exactly understand. It's acting, Lauren explained earlier, and then it's something going on with this nervous system, neurologic issues, can't stand well, can't hold its head correctly sometimes, and we're not exactly sure what's going on with this bird, but it came into us thin. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Lauren came into us thin. So Lauren felt the keel here, that center bone. And if the muscle is pulled way far away, the muscle and fat in that bone sticks out really far, that bird is, we can tell, is undernourished that way. But then also Alex took a weight on the bird. So we want to make sure that every bird that comes into us, especially if they're very thin, we want to make sure every day that they're gaining weight. So that's why Alex took a weight on the bird. It's a good way to tell generally how good or bad the bird's shape is with that keel bone, but it's really important to take a weight on them too, to make sure that they're gaining weight every day. So Lauren is tubing this bird because it, again, with these neurologic issues it has, it's not eating on its own yet. And so she's getting calories in the bird. She sticks that tube down into the crop and injects this calorie-laden slurry into the bird's crop to make sure that it's getting the calories. And now she's going to feed it pieces of lean meat. And this is probably
first day.
Rat meat. Okay, this is the first meat that this bird has gotten since it's been with us.
Yeah. And yes, it is rat meat.
And you see the mouth, that's really important. Lauren made sure that the bird swallowed that piece, and you could tell with the mouth, the way it moved its mouth, that it swallowed that piece. So sometimes birds are so underweight and so malnourished that if you put food in them, whole food, they will regurgitate it because their body says, I cannot digest that. Too much energy would have to go to digesting that, which the energy is needed in other places in the body. So this is why we're only going to give this bird just a little bit of food and keep monitoring it throughout the day to make sure that that food stays down. And that slurry that Lauren put down into the bird's crop, that is very easily digested, so that helps get needed calories into the bird's body, which will help it digest this whole food that we're giving it.
Normally, this red-tailed hawk would eat about 150 grams of food daily, and we are only feeding him 20. So that gives you a good idea of just how little we're giving him to make sure that he can digest it properly.
Good point. And this is a juvenile red-tailed hawk. This bird was hatched this year. They nest a little bit later in the season than great horned owls do. The bird that we call a Vita was hatched here at World Bird Sanctuary 10 years ago. And she is one of our coolest education and display birds. As you can see, an incredibly long wingspan, one of the longest wingspans of a bird in the world. About 10 or so feet from wingtip to wingtip. And this is a female, and we can tell that because the females don't have the fleshy structure right here on their beak and their forehead like the males do. You can see the male there with the fleshy structure and the female on the right hand side there. Vultures are flock birds in the wild. You can find vultures and condors. Condors and vultures are closely related, usually in big flocks.
Oh yeah, friends for life.
I think you should look at the camera, Dave, also.
My new BFF.
And what he's eating is basically just emu food. It's compressed grains, greens, things like that. These guys they eat a lot of leafy things, nuts, berries, vegetables and things like that.
A little bit more.
If you want to hand me another handful, he'll eat. He will.
Didn't say that big because he's a light eater, right?
He hasn't eaten all night.
You're a messy eater.
Yeah, the crazy thing though is that he grabs it and he shoots it back into his mouth and he gets most of it in there. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's cool.
One of his favorite treats is dandelion greens, so usually when I'm walking up and down the line, if I see some that look really nice, I'll bring them into him. I just did a funny Facebook post about him. Sprinkles, our dandelion expert, explained why dandelions are so important to everybody in the world. Yeah. These are really
interesting,
cool.
interesting feeling feathers, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Kind of coarse.
So their feathers are double plumed. So they have 2 feathers for a single quill there. And it allows them to block the sunlight radiation, but also keeps them warm because in Australia they do have the heat and the cold that we have here in the United States. And so it helps protect them. So the feathers that they have up here are actually soft and silky, and then they have rustly feathers on the back. Not quite sure what the purpose of it is. If it's, like, are they rustle them as a warning, or if they use it for cleaning or anything like that. But yeah, they have the double plumes.
Interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
But they're part of the same family as...
Can you bring it closer there?
Oh, I sure can.
Oh, wow, interesting.
They're part of the ratite family, so they share the same characteristics of things like ostriches, emus, rheas, cassowaries, and kiwis. And so they're a very archaic bird. If you look at their feet look very dinosaur-like. And they're designed to help them stay up, so they don't have the hollow bones that birds do. Their bones are actually dense the way that humans and mammals are, because they have to fight against gravity. And then they have a wing, but it's very, very small. I can even find it in here. I can't even find your wing. It's literally this right here. And it's like, it's about this long, and it has a little talon on the end of it. A little vestigial talon. But yeah, so they're designed for running on the ground. They're the flightless birds. I can get to be about 30 to 35 miles per hour speeds. And those legs are incredibly strong. So in Australia, they don't have large mammals to be a predator for them. So most of their, most of their risk is going to be injury, any kind of conflict with man and that sort of thing. Anything that tries to eat them is going to get stomped because of those very heavy feet. And it's the same with a lot of the other ratites. Cassowaries are actually a very dangerous bird. They're probably one of the most dangerous birds that you work with because they actually have a talon that they can use for scraping and ripping. So a lot of keepers say working with cassowaries is probably one of the most dangerous professions.
Okay. We were on our display line here at World Bird Sanctuary and thought it was pretty important to talk about the older enclosures that we have that we will eventually be replacing. But these enclosures were built by Boy Scouts for scouts going for their Eagle badges, and scouts, especially the guys going for, and girls going for their Eagle badges, or the highest badge you can get in Girl Scouts. They've done incredible projects for us. These enclosures were built 15 or so years ago, and they serve their purpose very well for us. We've got a swallowtail kite in one here and a red-tailed hawk here in the other one, but they will eventually be replaced with these enclosures that are on this side of the road, and these enclosures will house some really cool crows and ravens one day. As you can see, they're pretty close to being done, and there's 3 different chambers, and we'll probably have an American crow, a common raven, and also a white-necked raven, which are native to Africa, so people get to see another species of raven that they wouldn't normally see. These enclosures cost around $10,000. This whole enclosure cost around $10,000 to build. So we're transitioning to enclosures that are more modern. First of all, so that people, when they're walking by, can see the birds even a little bit better. But secondly, because sooner or later we will we're moving towards AZA accreditation. American Zoo and Aquarium Association is AZA. And we are building enclosures now that are AZA accredited. Now this building is closed to the public, except that every day at 11 and 3 we do training with the birds that we use for our education programs. And so we thought that, well, maybe people would want to pay a little bit of extra money and come down and see the show. And so we can keep everybody socially distant in here, and we keep it to a certain number of people. I think we can have like 30 people in here. And so they can pay extra money at the gate or at the gift shop and come down and see our training session for the birds. And we free fly birds
neat.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And they can also sign up online for that if they want also. But other than that, this building is closed right now because of the COVID.
Okay.